Greetings and welcome to another episode of Heart-Centered Wellness with Dr. Shay. If you are new to my channel, hi, I am Dr. Shalita Mira, a psychologist, licensed clinical social worker, an ordained pastor, and a college professor. And this channel focuses on all things mental wellness. In the month of April, we are exploring emotional intelligence. And so this week's episode is going to further define what emotional intelligence is. In our last video, if you have not seen that video, please go back and watch it. I'll link it in the description below. But it gave us an understanding of the difference between emotions and feelings. We have to understand that difference so that as we are building our emotional intelligence, we understand the difference between how we make sense of what we're feeling or experiencing in our body and the world, known as a feeling, and the voice of the body or its response to whatever is going on in our environment. The first component that we're going to explore is self-awareness. Self-awareness is the ability to recognize and understand one's own thoughts, feelings, behaviors, and characteristics. It involves introspection and reflection on oneself, including recognizing your strengths, your weaknesses, your beliefs, your values, and rightly labeling your emotions. Self-aware individuals are often more adept at self-regulation, empathy, and making informed decisions about their actions and interactions with others. In fact, self-awareness is the foundation of assessing and building or improving our emotional intelligence. The second space that we want to look at is accountability. We want to assess whether you are able to own up to or accept your own mistakes. Where it's easy for us to give an account for the things that we've done well. We love to take credit. We love praise. But when we do something that will spark criticism or debate or some other form of critical analysis, if you will, we tend to shy away from being able to admit an area where we may not have responded appropriately, or maybe we were wrong altogether. So we want to be able to assess if I'm able to be held accountable. Low accountability translates into poor emotional intelligence. So ask yourself, am I accountable to my thoughts, feelings, behaviors, actions, performance? Am I accountable in my relationships? Or do I tend to shy away or place blame or find an escape route? That'll let us know where you stand on the emotional intelligence scale. The other area that we want to look at and examine when we're looking at emotional intelligence is our ability to move forward with forgiveness. Oftentimes when things hurt us, when they cause us distress, we tend to ruminate or think about it over and over and over again. And forgiveness and moving forward is difficult. But individuals who are high on the emotional intelligence scale or have a high emotional quotient tend to be able to regulate their narratives of safety, Just because something has happened in the past does not mean that it will happen in the future, or if there is the thought or a suspicion that it will, we can build coping strategies. We can build other type of self-preserving methods in order to make sure that we are safe. Individuals with high emotional intelligence understand the power that they possess when defining safety. We get to define what is safe and what is not. We get to label things that are unsafe to us as unsafe and things that are safe to us as safe. So remember, a part of assessing emotional intelligence is your ability to move forward versus dwelling in the past or having an attitude of pessimism. Another area that we can focus on when we're looking at our own emotional intelligence is being able to explain not only our own bodily sensations or our own voice, that is with our somatic voice, but we can also discern and maybe even reflect back the somatic awareness or even the feelings of others around us. Say you're in a group of individuals. You are attentive to their nonverbal communicative methods. For example, are they closed in posture? Do they appear to be looking down? Do they appear to be uncomfortable? An individual with high emotional intelligence is not only highly aware of how environments and surroundings and people affect them, but they are also empathic enough to connect with the other person's experience and in some measure be able to have a conversation with them about what they are feeling or experiencing. You'll have compassion for the other person. That kind of leads into the next one as well, because individuals who have high emotional intelligence tend to have a high level of empathy for others. Now, there is a realm of over empathizing where if you are an empath, it can feel weighty. It can feel like you're carrying the burden of the world on your shoulders. So we're talking about healthy empathy here. The ability to step into the world or the space of another and allow them to share their story. And not only the narratives or the feelings that they've assigned to it, but also to be able to probe and experience this somatic awareness or the somatic knowing. So individuals with high emotional intelligence are able to explain as well as describe what others are feeling around them, and they also possess high empathy for others. Another very important predictor of high emotional intelligence is the ability to maintain emotional regulation. So many individuals find themselves emotionally charged and reactive in so many situations. But an individual who has high emotional intelligence is already very well aware of their triggers. They're already very well aware of environments and how they impact their safety. They're very well aware and intentional about environmentally restructuring or being in certain places or around certain people for minimal or limited number of times, because they're very in tune with how certain people, places, or things impact their being. And so because they have this high level of intuitiveness, they're able to manage or regulate their emotions. Why? Because their emotional experiences are not new or foreign to them. They are not a surprise. And even in spaces where it may be a surprise. Say they're experiencing something for the first time and realize that that is now a trigger. They are able to quickly grasp coping strategies such as cognitive restructuring or different self-soothing strategies in order to de-stress themselves or use positive stimulation. In order to be able to emotionally regulate, you really have to know yourself, and you have to be accountable to yourself. You have to be committed to how you desire to show up in the world. You have to be committed to your own character, but you also have to be committed to your self-care, because emotional regulation is a core tenet of practicing self-care. All right, we have a couple left. And so the next one we're going to discuss is you have to have confidence in yourself. You can often tell when an individual shows up and they're coming from a space of insecurity. Insecurity breeds conflict. How can I be secure in the world? How can I be secure in a relationship? How can I be secure in an interaction if I am insecure within myself? So many individuals live from a paradigm of disassociation, this separateness from the self. And then you expect to show up in situations with other complex beings from a place of security. It does not work that way. There has to be this investment in the self. There has to be this confidence and this security that buds from within and emanates without. So individuals who have a high emotional intelligence have done their work. They're not easily shaken by situations or criticism or lies or ridicule. Sure, does it hurt? Absolutely. Do they become dysregulated? No, because they know themselves. They trust themselves. They believe in themselves, and they have confidence in themselves. And so knowing your confidence level, your internal confidence level, is going to be important in determining your emotional intelligence. Now we're down to our last place of focus or predictor of emotional intelligence, and I'm combining these two into one. And it is curiosity about the world and those around you, and the ability to accept change in your life. We know that life is ever evolving. Life changes. Transformation happens. That is a sign of growth. But when we have a difficult time adjusting to change, that can be symbolic of a low emotional quotient or score on emotional intelligence. We have to be highly adaptable. And so when we're taking some of the assessments that we're going to begin taking a little bit later in this week, we're going to be looking at things like neuroticism. Now, how flexible are we when it comes to our agreeableness? We have to look at not only who we are in the world and the space we occupy in the world, but we also have to embrace the fact that this space is not stagnant. It feels very detrimental and harmful to our soul when we feel stuck, when we feel like there is no progression. In fact, this stuckedness that I'm going to call it, even though that's not a word, can lead to feelings of hopelessness, right, or helplessness. So we want to be able to embrace change, to understand that we are growing, to understand that this is a moment, and my life is made up of many moments. And there's some moments that I want to remember. There's some moments that I want to move past. We do not want a moment to keep us stuck. And so individuals who have high emotional intelligence tend to lean more toward having this curiosity about the world, having this curiosity about growth in others, and they are highly adaptable to the change when it shows up in their life. So in closing, let's wrap up the components of emotional intelligence. Daniel Goleman, who's one of the founders of emotional intelligence, lists 5 components of assessing emotional intelligence. The first one is self-awareness. This is about understanding your emotions and feelings and why you are feeling a particular way. It's also knowing your strengths and your weaknesses. 2 is self-regulation. This is the control element, being able to manage your emotions effectively and being able to admit any mistakes that you may have made. 3 is motivation. This element refers to your ability to drive yourself to meet your goals in different areas in your life and setting a standard and setting expectations for yourself and working towards those. When things don't go to plan, then we're resilient enough to embrace the change, embrace the lessons that were revealed, correct, and then move forward. The 4th is empathy. This is about being able to identify what other people might be experiencing or feeling and respond to that. This means being able to put yourself into someone else's shoes and communicate with them effectively. And then number 5 are social skills. So this refers to the way that we choose to interact with those individuals around us, whether it be at home, whether it be at school, whether it be at a religious institution, wherever that may be. It is also about being able to be a part of something greater than oneself, seeing your importance in this team, being able to communicate effectively, understanding the goals that are before us that we're motivated to accomplish, and the ability to not only show up but speak to others in confidence. So I hope that today's video has provided you with some additional insights and information on what emotional intelligence is. Later in this week, you're going to see on my website and also on my Facebook page some links to some emotional intelligence assessments or some EQ assessments. I want you to take some time and take these varying assessments and take the revelatory insights and apply it to your life planning. Where do I need to grow? What do I need to abandon? What do I need to reprioritize? What are strengths and weaknesses? This all reveals not only who we are, but who we desire to become. So remember, you have been given a divine gift, and that is the gift of choice. This month, all of April, we are choosing to be emotionally healthy. Have a phenomenal week.